Did you know that for more than 99% of human history, nobody had a job? No resumes, no salaries, no bosses, no Monday mornings. In fact, if you somehow traveled back 20,000 years and asked an ancient human what they did for a living, they probably wouldn't even understand the question. The idea of having a job is so new that it occupies only a tiny fraction of humanity's existence. So what did people actually do all day before jobs existed? The answer is far stranger than most people imagine. And by the end of this video, you might start questioning whether modern humans are living the way we were ever meant to. And if you enjoy uncovering forgotten history and hidden truths like this, consider subscribing, because some of the most fascinating stories in human history are the ones nobody talks about anymore. When people imagine prehistoric humans, they often picture exhausted cavemen spending every waking moment hunting for food. But here's where things get strange. Scientists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies discovered something unexpected. Many of these groups spend far less time working than the average office employee today. Some researchers estimate that certain hunter-gatherers spent only 3 to 5 hours per day gathering food and resources. That's it. The rest of their time was spent talking, resting, making tools, telling stories, creating art, playing games, and strengthening social bonds. And this changes everything. For thousands upon thousands of years, survival wasn't an individual challenge. It was a group activity. Ancient humans lived in small communities, usually between 20 and 50 people. Everyone contributed in different ways. Some hunted, some gathered plants. Some watched children. Some crafted tools. Some passed down knowledge. Nobody clocked in. Nobody clocked out. Life wasn't organized around careers. It was organized around survival and community. But the most surprising part was still to come. Around 40,000 years ago, humans started creating something that seemed completely unnecessary. Art. Deep inside caves, people painted animals, symbols, and mysterious figures using natural pigments. Some of these paintings still survive today. Think about that for a moment. These people lived in a dangerous world filled with predators, harsh weather, and constant uncertainty. Yet they still made time for creativity. Why? Nobody knows for sure. Some believe the paintings had spiritual meaning. Others think they were educational tools. But scientists discovered something even stranger. Many cave paintings were hidden in locations that were extremely difficult to reach. Some required crawling through narrow passages in complete darkness. Why create art where almost nobody would ever see it? The mystery remains unsolved. And it suggests that ancient humans cared about far more than simply staying alive. They were thinking, imagining, and creating in ways surprisingly similar to us. Then something happened that changed human history forever. About 12,000 years ago, the last ice age began ending. The climate became warmer. Plants became more predictable. Animals migrated differently. And some humans started experimenting with something revolutionary. Farming. At first, it seemed like a brilliant idea. Instead of constantly moving around searching for food, people could stay in one place and grow it themselves. Sounds like an obvious improvement. Except it may not have been. Archaeologists discovered that many early farmers were actually less healthy than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Their diets became less varied. They worked longer hours. Diseases spread more easily because larger groups lived together. Some skeletons even show signs of increased physical stress and malnutrition. What happened next shocked historians. The invention that was supposed to make life easier may have made life harder, at least in the beginning. But farming had one enormous advantage. It created surplus food. And surplus food changed everything. For the first time in history, not everyone needed to focus directly on gathering food. Some people became builders. Others became traders. Others became priests, leaders, soldiers, and craftsmen. Specialization was born. And with specialization came the earliest versions of what we would eventually call jobs. But we're not at the strangest part yet. As villages grew into cities, something entirely new appeared. Ownership. Before large-scale agriculture, many hunter-gatherer societies shared resources extensively. Food was often distributed throughout the group. But permanent settlements created land, property, and wealth. Some people accumulated more than others. Social classes emerged. Power structures developed. And slowly, over thousands of years, human societies became more organized and more unequal. Suddenly, what you did began defining who you were. A farmer was a farmer. A blacksmith was a blacksmith. A merchant was a merchant. The concept of identity started becoming linked to occupation. And we're still living with that idea today. Halfway through this story, here's a question that historians still debate. If you could choose between living as a prehistoric hunter-gatherer or a modern office worker, what factors would matter most to you? Freedom, comfort, security, purpose? There may never be a perfect answer. Let me know your thoughts in the comments because the debate is far more complicated than it seems. Now here's where things become truly mind-bending. For almost all of human existence, people didn't ask children what they wanted to be when they grew up. Think about that. The question itself barely existed. Children learned skills naturally from the people around them. Knowledge flowed through observation and participation. Life wasn't divided into school, career, retirement, and endless schedules. It followed the rhythms of nature. The rising sun, the changing seasons, the movement of animals, the availability of food. Human beings evolved under those conditions for hundreds of thousands of years. But modern job culture? It's only been around for a tiny sliver of our story. If all of human history were compressed into a single year, jobs as we know them would appear only in the final moments before midnight on December 31st. And that statistic should make you pause. Because it means the lifestyle most of us consider normal is actually one of the newest experiments humanity has ever tried. But the final revelation is perhaps the most unsettling of all. Ancient humans didn't separate life from work. The distinction barely existed. Gathering food, telling stories, raising children, creating art, teaching skills, and helping the group were all woven together into daily life. There was no constant question of work-life balance because work and life were often the same thing. Today, millions of people spend their lives searching for meaning outside the jobs they perform. Yet for most of human history, meaning came directly from participation in the community itself. And perhaps that's why the question, what did ancient humans do before jobs existed, has such a surprising answer. They lived. Not perfectly, not easily, not safely, but they lived in a way that was fundamentally different from the world we know today. And the more scientists learn about our ancestors, the more we realize that the story of human work is far stranger and far newer than anyone ever imagined. If you enjoyed this journey into forgotten history, subscribe for more mysteries, hidden truths, strange science, ancient civilizations, and unexplained stories that reveal just how surprising the human past really is.